And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So let's just go ahead and dig right in, shall we? So you'll get a little pamphlet, Leatherman Garage. This gives me the series number as well as the name, which is they're just calling it parts. On the back, we have a how-to. So we need a number 6 Torx to unscrew it to get the blade out. Interesting. Okay. Another thing that talks about changing out the blades. My receipt, which we'll put over here. And then we have the knife. So let's go ahead and pull this thing out and take a look. So it's not plastic like I thought. So this part that looks real chartreuse-like, that's actually metal. I thought at first I thought it was plastic in the images, but it looks like it's just Cerakoted metal of some sort. I don't know if it's steel for sure, but thankfully it is not plastic, and you can tell because look on the back, you can see the metal protruding out. So it's probably 420 HC is my guess. Interesting little mechanism here. So let's go ahead and see how this functions. Oh my goodness. So there is no D10 of sorts, like I can't flick this open. In fact, I think it would be dangerous to do so. It's a roll open kind of situation here. And this is the S30V blade. So it comes with 2 blades. So this is the first one. And then in the box, we have the 154 cm sheep's foot blade. Get a little piece of paracord. And we have a Leatherman bit holder loaded with a T6, T8 flat bit. So that's what we got. That's what's here. So one thing I couldn't tell from the images that they had is we only ever saw this side. So this is what they showed us, right? But as you can see when you look on the back, there's a whole lot more going on with this that they used to get actual inserted in there. And if they had shown this, I think it would have been really obvious what was going on. So yeah, let's just talk about this weird mechanism. So it goes up. My guess is the back of this blade, and it looks very similar to the Leatherman Free series. But what's weird is, like the Free, K4, I was able to flick open and also launch open, and this I cannot do that with. It's pretty much resisting the whole way through. Now that could just be tension, but I mean, there you go. Well, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what I expected. There's not really going to be much to talk about in that sense. It is kind of an interesting take. It looks like there's steel, the liners continue all the way through the frame, which is kind of unusual. And there's the mechanism there. Looks like a spring. I'm not going to be disassembling this, so we're just going to observe what we can. And of course, this is my number for this one on the back. Interesting. But you just roll it open. And it's only unscrewable on one side. So I'm going to... Oh, that's kind of obnoxious. So it's not fixed in place, this thumb stud that's supposed to hold all this together. So you're going to have to somehow arrest this thumb stud to unscrew it to change them out. So if you tighten it too much, you may have to somehow find a way to grip this without marring the coating. So a little screw there. Oh, that's really small. Okay, so this comes out, I'm imagining. Nope, actually there's 2 screws. See, I didn't know that. So there's 2 screws here. So do I have to unscrew the whole thing? It looks like I do because... Oh no, not much. Doesn't look like I need to do much here. So that comes out. like so. And then this goes back in. Looks like I have to unscrew it some amount to get it in there. Guess I have to go more than that. I gotta tell you, this is not very easy to do. Okay, I'm gonna take that out for the time being so I can get it in there. And look, just by doing that, the Cerakoting, some of the Cerakoting just came off. See? Some of that. There's a little bit there. Very thick on the Cerakote. And if you were to try to do this, like not in a more controlled environment, there is no way you're gonna keep this screw. You're definitely gonna lose it. There we go. Why am I having trouble getting this in? Interesting. All right, so what's going on here? This is not very, like, okay, I'm gonna put this together a little off camera here for a second so I could focus on what I'm doing. But I'm telling you right now, if you had to do this, like somewhere not at home, it would be obnoxious. Be right back. Let me put this thing back together. Okay, we have it back together here. I just didn't quite have that very small screw seated. And now we have the 154 cm blade installed. So of course, to unlock it, you press up, push down, and it's quite tight. So let me while we're at it, let me see if I gets any better by adjusting it this way. And once again, you're going to need not one but two, because the pivot is free floating. It's not even a D pivot like you get in a lot of knives. And actually, I can tell you right now, I can't, without proper tools, I'm not gonna be able to loosen this up. It's clearly been Loctited, if that's the proper term. But yeah, you're gonna need two T8s in order to adjust the pivot. The body screws are T6, as is the clip, which is basically a standard free clip, Leatherman free clip. And yeah, and it's attached really, really far down on it. There's a whole bunch of extra space that is sticking out. Doesn't have to. I don't know why they're positioned there. They could be an extra 1/4 inch up, looks like. But yeah, that's kind of what we have. This is the Leatherman free parts. So, with that being said, with taking a look at this, I'm even more disappointed now than I was when I saw the knife, because this mechanism isn't even very well thought out. Is it functional? In other words, does it do a decent job? Well, I mean, I guess it kind of does. You can see the play. Clearly, I need to tighten this down a little bit more. But like every time I do, the Cerakoting on this piece of steel is coming off. So the very first time you adjust this thing or change out the blades, that's exactly what you're going to get. And it doesn't appear that the thumb stud does anything more than just kind of prevent the blade from gaining leverage over this screw. So this single screw is doing so much heavy lifting for what is basically a T6 screw. And yeah, that is the Leatherman free, or sorry, this is the Leatherman Garage Series 3 parts. That's what they're calling it. And this price for this was $215 out of the box. Now, I have no question, there's no question in my mind that this is going to be a very difficult to find collector's item that is a Leatherman that someone will want. I'm sure this will hold its value. But as far as viability of making this become something more than just a very limited trial run, they should skip it for sure. Yeah. First of all, any hard use on this is going to strip that screw or break it off, and going to end up having that threading locked in there, and you're going to not only lose the blade, but yeah, it's going to be a mess. I don't necessarily dislike the size or the placement of these things, but there's always the question of why, and this why makes no sense to me. I get that they're trying to use up parts that they had lying around in the shop at Leatherman, but then why not just make one of the billion different modifications that we have been trying with Leathermans, using a mix match of parts, like hybrid tools, like say a Leatherman rebar combined with a Leatherman wave, or a Leatherman charge with a Leatherman, I don't know, or a Bond curl mix would be really cool. There's other ways you can use parts instead of making an entirely new platform that doesn't really make any sense outside of being a one-off. They don't really believe that they're going to make this thing and make profit, I don't think. I would imagine this is just to say, hey, we've done it, that was cool. That's all I can basically figure here. Because even the mechanism is not something I'm particularly happy with. I understand that they wanted to make it look cool with this sort of chartreuse coloration on the Cerakote, but as you can see, it's not a very strong one, because with just a little bit of tightening, I started seeing flakes of the Cerakote come off just by changing out this blade one time, and I was being pretty gentle. Yeah, well, here's the good news. If you missed out on this, you're not going to feel bad about it. That's the good news. And just a reminder, after all the things I'm bashing, you're going to say, why did you get it anyway? Once again, this is actually a way for me to enable it to get to some collectors outside the United States who never had even had a chance to buy one because they're not available outside the US. So I already have a gentleman in Canada who I'll be sending this to have in their collection. So that's really, really awesome. I'm glad I could help with that. And I really want to say thank you to him for letting me be able to play with these tools before I send them out. So this is pretty much it for the presentation of this Leatherman Garage Parts number 3. I don't think there's much else to say. It has none of the advantages of a folding knife. It has none of the advantages of a utility blade in the disposable blades. It's an interesting concept, but it's a whole lot of work for something that doesn't offer a single advantage in any possible way. Especially if the way to switch them out, the blades, is so complicated and is likely to get you to lose this very difficult to replace screw. So yeah, there you go. That's